Shields up, Iron Breakers. How's everybody doing? Today, I have something very, very special for you. As you can see it coming out of the box, we have a Nintendo Switch unboxing for you guys here today. This was sent to me by Nintendo so that I could give you guys my initial take on the Switch. You guys can see that we have the Legend of Zelda here, which is the first title that I will be playing. I will be giving you my impressions on Zelda pretty soon on the channel as well. And today we are also experimenting with a new, basically a new format. This is the point of view, where basically we got a GoPro strapped to my chest. And we're going to be doing not only the unboxing this way, but I'm also going to give you guys my opinions on the Switch hardware from, just looking at every individual part and really giving you guys a breakdown of my opinions on it, on the Joy-Cons, on the device that you can strap the Joy-Cons to, on the Switch screen, all of that stuff. We are going to have everything in this video here today. So starting things off, obviously we have to start with the unboxing. This is post-commentary, but once we switch to the hardware portion where we're going to be looking at the hardware itself, it is going to be real-time commentary, and the audio is also going to be slightly different because I have to be mobile for that. But here we have the very first Joy-Con. This is the left Joy-Con right there. I'm gonna put these back in the bags because at this point I was just like unboxing it. I was being like very, very careful. Got to keep everything in pristine condition because it's all new and shiny. And here you can see the other Joy-Con. So we got both the Joy-Cons up in there. Gonna put those next to the Zelda case. Now we're going to take out the screen, which is also the Switch, basically. This is the whole console. Essentially, it's kind of weird of a concept, right? It's like this thing right here. This is the console, what we're holding right now. It is not, a big square box or something. It is just like, boom, this is the console. I was just checking, see if there was anything underneath this cardboard portion here. But there was really nothing there. It was just to prop up the screen. Here we have the device, which I still don't know the name of this thing. I really should Google the name of this thing. But basically, I just call it, this is the thing that holds the two Joy-Cons together in a way that it makes it look like a traditional controller, which, to be completely honest, I prefer playing with the Joy-Cons loose rather than attaching them to this thing. It's going to be a personal preference thing. If you like your traditional controllers, you might like them more inserted into that. But if not, you might like them loose like I do. If you've played the original Wii, playing the Joy-Cons loose is actually a very, very good way of doing it. Anyway, here we have the HDMI cable, which obviously comes included with the console. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to put it on the television. Here you have the AC adapter. Now, this USB AC adapter, you can plug this both to the dock or directly to the console itself. And I believe it also supports pretty much any micro USB for charging purposes. So like all of those power banks that people have been buying for Pokemon Go, you can now use those to charge your Switch. You have the very first strap. The straps are actually not left or right. You can attach any strap on any of the controllers. It's just you flip them around and you can basically attach them on either controller. You guys will see that when we go into the hardware stage. And here we have the dock for the Nintendo Switch itself. So this is going to be the device that plugs into your television, and also the device that will charge your Switch, and pretty much anything that goes on for the big screen is powered through this device. I mean, not really powered because all of the power comes from the console. This just kind of has the hardware in place to send the HDMI signal to your television for playing on the big screen. This thing opens, which I was not aware it did, so that you have easy access. It has a little bit of cable management in the back, which is actually rather nice. I'm going to go into further detail once we get to the hardware bit, but let me just tell you, that's actually a really well thought out piece of kit right there. The back portion of the Nintendo Switch, it's very, very cool. And here we're about to go into just a little bit of an overview of all the things that come in the box. And now I'm going to send you guys to the hardware portion. Okay, so at this point you guys should have just watched the unboxing video, and now we have pretty much all of the parts that came in the box with the exception of the power unit because I have that already plugged in, as well as the HDMI cable, which is also plugged into my setup and pretty much ready to go. But before we actually get into the nitty-gritty of things and start hooking everything up, I wanted to show you guys what the hardware looks like when you are handling the console and all that stuff after all of the unboxing is done. Like, let's take a look at the Nintendo Switch. Let's take a look at the dock. Let's take a look at all the peripherals and all of that stuff that comes in the box and actually take a long, hard look at them piece by piece. So, obviously the very first thing we have here is we have the dock with the Switch docked into it. I'm going to be trying to angle things in a way that the light catches it pretty decently. We have a little bit of smudge here. This is from me handling the thing. I mean, you just put a bit of cloth over it and it will be completely clean. So let's take her out of the dock. So this is the Switch. You got 3 parts here. Obviously, you got the console itself, which is basically this tablet portion here. I mean, I think most of you guys have seen what the console looks like from advertisement and whatnot. And then you got the controls, which are attached to the console. So at this point, you guys might be wondering, so how hard is it to take those things out of the console? Well, the answer is it is not hard at all. So in the back here, we have a lot of stuff in the back of the console itself. Namely, we have a kickstand here. We also have these, what do you call these? These are for air circulation, the vents. We have 2 in the bottom and 1 on the top, so you want to make sure that you don't cover those. Otherwise, obviously the console is not going to be able to properly cool itself and it's going to be a problem. So there's 2 in the bottom, 1 on the top. I'm actually curious, do we have something in the thing here for the bottom piece? Yeah, you can see that we have like something to circulate air in the back here for the bottom pieces. So this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be looking at to determine, you know, did they think of everything? Is there something that they could have done better? Stuff like that. But it looks like they obviously thought about the cooling situation, so we got 1 here. And it seems that probably we have something in there. You guys probably won't be able to see it appropriately, but like basically the hole that you have in here goes on this side as well, and then the heat comes through the top section here. Let me try to angle it in a way that you can see it. You can see that there's vents like on this section. Oops, sorry. You can see that there's vents on this section as well. I'm just trying to get the lighting just right. But there are vents on top here, so basically the cooling situation down there, it's all good. Cooling from the top, obviously it should be pretty clear because there's nothing covering the console or whatever. So the first thing that you guys are going to be asking, how hard is it to get the controllers out of the Nintendo Switch? Not too hard. There's this button here, which is present on both controllers. So basically what you do is you just press the button and pull the thing out. As you can see, did not struggle at all. Just like you just literally tap this here and then you pull it because you have a grip on it from the shape of the triggers right there. So you can actually get a good grip on it whenever you're trying to remove it. It's actually really well thought out. So boom, removing one, not hard at all. Then you go for the other one, not hard at all either. So removing it from the tablet, not that hard. So the first thing that I noticed was that when I started, I was like, okay, so let's check out this tabletop mode thing, right? Because I mean, I'm going to set this thing down, so I might as well take out this little thing. And the first thing that I noticed was like, wow, this feels a little bit flimsy. Like, you guys will notice that it feels a little bit flimsy, and you guys are like, wow, that looks kind of cheap. Like, what's the deal there? And the reason, there's actually a reason for this, because I was looking through the menus of the Switch and whatnot, and I ran into something that basically said, oh, if you have a problem and like you happen to have your thing open and then you put it down in there, I mean, you guys can see that basically what I'm saying is doing something like this, which I'm not going to do, but there is obviously a possibility that someone just picks this up and tries to put it down like this. This part actually comes off and you can attach it back together again, whereas if you had a sturdy piece of hardware here, you would probably break it and not be able to fix it again. So Nintendo thought about it that way. It's like, it's going to look a little bit flimsy, but we're going to make it be able to come off, and so that people can just reattach it if it ever comes off by accident or whatever. They still tell you be careful about that because, you know, the part will suffer from wear and tear. But, you know, basically that is the reason why this particular part feels a little bit flimsy is what I'm saying. So let's put the dock back there. You can set her down, and this would be like tabletop mode at this point. We could pick up the Joy-Cons, start playing, doing whatever. But before we start talking about the Joy-Cons themselves, let's focus on the tablet a little bit more. So what other things do we have here? Well, below the kickstand, you guys will notice that there's like an entry here. This is where you put your micro SD cards in. So as you guys know, the Switch is going to support micro SD cards up to 2 terabytes. So, I mean, obviously those don't even exist on the market right now. I think the biggest ones are either 512 or 256. I myself am contemplating buying a couple of 128s because they're at a reasonable price in Portugal. They're probably a lot cheaper in America and other countries. But, you know, I think it's going to cost me about $50 or something for 128 gigabytes, which is, you know, it's decent. I can probably put a couple of games on there, and I can just have maybe, I'm even considering buying 2 of them so that I can just like have lots of digital titles. Because obviously, this is a specific case for me, but since I'm probably going to be receiving digital titles from Nintendo for review purposes and whatnot, I'm going to need to have a lot of storage. But if you get the cartridges, you're probably not going to need as much storage as I am, so shouldn't be a problem unless you're planning on going all digital, at which point then yeah, you're probably going to have to be investing on a couple of beefy SD cards to install on there. Now you guys can see that I haven't purchased my SD card just yet, but that's the plan right now for me to get at least 1 or 2 128s so that I don't have to stress too much about games. So here we have the port for the game cartridges. Now I can't actually show you the game cartridge out of the case, which is why this thing is empty right now, because the only cartridge that I have is the Zelda one, but it is still under embargo, so like the embargo actually says I can't even show you what the cartridge looks like outside of the box. I can show it to you inside the box, which you guys should have already seen in the unboxing. There it is. This is the Zelda cartridge. So you take this bad boy out and you can just stick it up in here, which I've already done. I've already played a little bit of Zelda to, you know, just get a feel for it, and I'm going to be playing more Zelda to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on it. But that is your game card. So SD, game card, and then here you have a headphone jack. Wow, look at that. How revolutionary, huh, Apple? A friggin' headphone jack. Huh? Who would have thought of that? Oh, sorry, I'm just giving Apple shit right now. But anyway, obviously you got your headphone jack in there, as I was saying. You got I've already mentioned the vents up top. Then you have your volume control buttons as well as your on and off button, which is also your sleep button, because right now my Switch is sleeping, so I'll just pop this. You guys will notice it will light right up, and we can go into the home menu, do all kinds of stuff. But to be completely honest, there's not a whole lot of reason to go into the home menu. I mean, I can even show you guys, because I'm allowed to show the home menu right now. I'm not going to capture it or anything because, again, there's not a whole lot to see there, but in a way, that is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Because, like, look at this, right? Let's just plug in one. I don't even need to plug in both Joy-Cons. I just need one, the one with the buttons, so we can press here. Press the same button 3 times. They're going to request this of you whenever you're starting. You can also disable it, though. There's a thing right there that says disable. So we're going to start her up. It does have a touch screen, which you guys can see right there. You can use it as a touch screen, although there isn't really much reason. You can do whatever you want just using the Joy-Con itself. So this is what the menu looks like. Right now there's not a lot to see because the console needs to be patched in order to have access to most of the features. So right now it actually it's just a very old school console in the fact that there's no online for me right now. But by the time the console comes out, obviously the online is going to be all set up and good to go. So we have very few options in here. News, which takes you to a news area that I can't show you yet. Nintendo eShop, which will take you to the Nintendo eShop. You got the album, which will take you to the screenshots, but I can't show you because I've already taken Zelda screenshots and those are still embargoed. You can go to controllers, which allows you to pair different controllers, change your grip order, just mess around with it if you want to, or if you need to like relink your controllers, stuff like that. Your system settings, which you have a bunch of stuff in here, just like very basic things. including there's a thing to create Miis if you want to. We're not going to get into that because I'm pretty sure most of the people that have seen what a Mii is, you guys should know about the Miis. It's like Nintendo's avatars, so to speak. You kind of create one, which it's going to allow you to import your own Mii whenever the online functionality becomes available. And then you have sleep mode, and then up here you will have your games. And I gotta tell you guys, it's good that it is super simple, because like nowadays consoles have all kinds of stuff in there, like particularly I'm talking about like the Xbox. Like you look at the Xbox interface and it's just like a big clusterfuck of mess, basically. And I like a console that is just clean and it has like super simplistic interface, just like, yeah, just my games, and that's what I need. I could use something else in here, which I'm assuming once the online functionality comes, we will get, which would be like an internet browser. I'm assuming we're going to get one of those, right? Probably see a YouTube app and that kind of stuff, Netflix, all that stuff. I expect all of that to be available as part of the course. But yeah, right now, this is what we have. So I'm going to put her in sleep, because like I said, there's not really a whole lot to see. So that is the tablet, so to speak, itself. In the bottom here, you will see that you have a USB port, micro USB port, which attaches itself onto the dock. The dock at the bottom, again, sorry about the lighting situation, is just not the easiest thing, but there is a thing in there. I think you guys can see it. And the console attaches itself there. You guys might wonder, so how easy is it? Is it easy to miss? I mean, just try to aim more or less to the center, and you will see that it is actually very lenient. You just kind of like drop it in there and then just adjust it a little bit, and it stays there. It shakes a little bit once it's in position, because the reason why it shakes is it can't be too rigid, because it needs to allow you to just like, okay, I just want to drop it in there, and boom. You need to be able to just like plop it down. You can't be like, oh, it has to be precisely here, otherwise the world ends. So this actually makes it really easy. Now, you guys might be wondering, okay, so we see on the presentation they just kind of put the Joy-Cons in there and pick her up. Can you actually do that, or was that just a bunch of crap? Well, let me show you. So you guys can see both of them just clicked in, and now, boom, super easy. You know, no fuss, no muss, just pick her up, and then set her back down. So now that we've talked about the console, let's talk about a little bit more about the dock. Let's take a quick look at this dock, shall we? I'm going to set the console down here. Okay, so the dock, it's got an LED light in here which indicates whether or not the connection to the TV is active. So this is going to depend whether or not you have your HDMI connected in the back here. This is where the ports are. Again, poor lighting. There you go. This is where the ports are. So assuming that you have everything set up properly and you got your ports, as soon as you plop the console down, this light should turn on if the console is on. If the console is off, obviously it's not going to turn on, because this is also like an indicator of whether or not the console is working or it's in sleep mode, all that stuff. Basically this thing turns green when everything is fine, and I'm assuming it might turn other colors if there is some kind of issues, but I haven't had any issues with it up until this point, so I can't really talk about that. Now, on the side here, we have two USB ports. I believe, not 100% sure because I checked the manual and it didn't specify, but I believe that these two ports are USB 2.0. Not 100% sure on that, but the reason I believe that is because you'll notice that these are just like standard jet black, whereas if you go to the back here, you'll notice that we have a blue USB right there. Hopefully the lighting will show you that this is blue. And obviously, as you guys should know, the blue USB means that this is a USB 3.0 port. So we have USB 3.0 in the back for whatever 3.0 needs you might have, which, to be honest, I don't even know why you would want to hook up 3.0 to this, because, I mean, I guess some people might be considering like, oh, we can just plug in an external hard drive and just, you know, have a bunch of storage that way. But it's like, it's not too convenient, because the whole sell on the Switch is that you're able to pick it up, take it with you at any point in time. And if you have a USB external hard drive connected to it, then like whenever you pick up your Switch, you're not going to have your games on you because your games are going to remain on your hard drive, so that wouldn't make a lot of sense. And also, I believe that feature isn't even available at this point. I tried connecting a USB stick on here just to see if it would detect it. It didn't even detect it, didn't even give me any options in the data management to mess with it, so I'm assuming that is not going to be a thing, which again makes sense because that is not what the Switch is about. Even though, again, we've already seen that like Dragon Quest Heroes or whatever is going to be like mega huge, doesn't even fit in the default storage of the Switch, so that could be a problem, but we will see. Anyway, so we have the two USB here. I'm just thinking, I don't even know what these things are going to be for, to be completely honest. I mean, I guess you could plug in your Pro Controller. Yeah, your Pro Controller for, of course, your Pro Controller for recharging your Pro Controller. That's what these are for. That's probably going to be their main use. And then once you open this, which has a little bit of cable management, so basically you can have your HDMIs come through here. You only have two cables that you need to put in here, which is the AC adapter. You guys can probably see it actually says there, right there, AC adapter. Oops, my big fingers were covering it. AC adapter, USB, HDMI out. So like super simple. Like right now I don't have anything to plug into the USB, so I just plug in AC adapter, HDMI out, and then you can route the cables, and you have two options. You can either make them exit through here, depending on however you're set up. Maybe it's better for you to have them exit through here in case you want to have something like this. You know, if you want to keep it like this and then the cables just come in from the back, you can keep it like that, and then you can just set her down like so, right? Or if you want to do it like me, which is front-facing, and just have it front-facing and then put it down like so, you also have room in the back here for the cables to come out through here. So again, options, which is good, lets you, tidy her up however you would prefer, however it suits your living room better. And it's actually nice that they give you two options. Like, sometimes it's just like, no, look, the cables are going to come out through here and you're just going to have to deal with it. But this is actually a pretty small footprint in your living room. I mean, it's two cables and they can come out through here, through here. You have a wide array of ways that you can tuck her in and not have issues with it. However, be careful. Do not cover this portion, in my opinion, because like I said, there is stuff coming out through here, and there is going to be, by stuff I mean there is going to be like the unit's cooling is going to make hot air come out through here, and some of it come out through here and whatnot. So you want to make sure that you don't totally cover this back portion. So like don't put it up against the wall or something. Make sure that there's some room in there so that the console can breathe. Otherwise, you might run into cooling issues. Again, I haven't run into any of these. I'm just hypothesizing because of the way this thing is built. So other than that, I don't think there's much else really to talk about on the dock. Like I said, the thing docks just fine. It is pretty lenient. It is not hard at all to put the console in there, take it out. So it works exactly like what you would expect from a dock, and particularly what you would expect from something that is a convenient device. You can just put it down, take it back out. This is kind of bothering me. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Like I'm looking at it and I can see a little bit of, a little bit of smudge in there, and I'm just like, no, it needs to be pristine. It needs to look good. So there you go. This is your dock, and we've already seen the tablet, so we're going to put the tablet away for now. And let's look at the other accessories. So that's over there. So before we get to the Joy-Cons, which is the most complex thing, let's take a look at this. So this device is what is supposed to transform your Joy-Cons into something that looks like a regular controller. Now, when I first saw this thing, I thought this thing could actually charge your Joy-Cons. I was clearly mistaken, because if you look at this, you will notice that there is no USB input whatsoever. So this thing will not do anything other than hold your Joy-Cons together. And I remember that in my initial video that I did with Globku, I was talking with him about it. I was like, I'm pretty sure those things charge, man. Looks like I was wrong. He was right. This thing does not charge. These lights that you see here, these are to indicate what player you are. So like if it's on top, you're player 1. If it's on the bottom, you're player 2. And that is because at some point, if you have, imagine, say, 2 or 3 sets of these bad boys, unless you, how should I put this? Unless you pay attention to the displays, you're not going to know which player these things are. So that's why these show. Basically, it's basically something just to distinguish which player is this. Very much like you will find in other controllers. So, like I said, this is like super simple. Just holds it together. And now, my opinion on this device, however, I don't know. I'm not its biggest fan. Because like when the first time we talked about it, me and Globku said this thing would be great if it was a little bit wider. And after having played with it around for a little bit longer, I have to say that I definitely think that this should have been just a little bit wider. Because like this, my hands are still a little bit too close together. Like I wish I had a little bit more room, because it would just become more ergonomic. And like I told you guys, I do have issues with my wrist, which is why I use this bad boy right here, keep my wrist in check. It's like, I don't know, it's not the most comfortable thing. Like it works fine, no issues with it whatsoever, and it feels kind of like a controller. But to be honest, to play like this, I would rather go with the Pro Controller. Now, not everyone's going to be able to purchase a Pro Controller because it's going to cost like $70 or whatever on release. So yeah, it's a decent alternative, but it is not what I would consider to be the best. Like this thing just needed to be a little bit wider, Like, and if you guys are wondering about comparing it in terms of size, I can show you guys. I'm going to put a DualShock in here. And I'm going to put an Xbox 360 in here. And you guys can see the size difference. So let's look at the Xbox 360 first. This is your Xbox 360 controller, right? And this is your Switch controller. It actually looks pretty similar. It's slightly smaller, you guys can see. If I put it on top, I mean, the angle isn't really helping us too much, but it is slightly smaller. Put it like this. The Xbox One is also a little bit meatier, and see, it's just a little bit wider. Not sure if you guys can tell, but it is just a little bit wider, which does make quite a bit of difference when it comes to comfort, in my personal opinion. Then you got the DualShock, which is even wider. Like the difference is clearly seen here, I think, hopefully because like from my angle, you can clearly see that one is wider than the other. And there you go. That is what the Switch controller looks like in comparison with the other two controllers right now in the market. And in my opinion, this is perfectly serviceable. Like it works fine. I just wish it was a little bit wider, and it would be a much better device. But other than that, works fine. Not really a lot of complaints, but in my personal opinion, I actually prefer playing without it. And now this is when a lot of you guys are going to go like, without it? The fuck is wrong with you? Are you crazy, Rurikhan? What the hell? And this is the truth. Like, to me, this device is like, this is something I think Nintendo did for the people that might have never played the original Wii. Because if you've played the original Wii, then you know that playing like this is actually really cool. And I know that a lot of people are going to call me out and they're going to say, Rurikhan, you're crazy, you're insane. A typical controller is much better. And it's like, I'm sorry. That is where we're just going to have to go ahead and disagree, because this is really cool. Because you can spread your arms as far as you want and you can still play. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, but it doesn't feel right. And it's like, look, dude, if you can't adapt yourself to a new controller, like, you know that controllers are going to evolve. The controllers are not going to look the same for the rest of our lives. And this was actually something I really liked in the original Wii. I'm not even kidding right now. I loved this. Another thing that I really loved is the fact that with this, there's a lot of games where you can actually just aim doing this. And I loved doing that on the Wii. Like, I was a big proponent of it back in the day. I kept telling my friends, like, look, dude, this is the evolution of shooting games, man. Just actually aiming the thing at the TV and shooting while still having full analogical controls. It makes perfect sense and it feels great. And in my opinion, it felt great on the Wii. And I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but hey, opinions, everybody has one, okay? We know what it's like. And in my opinion, I love that control set, and I really thought that it was going to be the future, but as it turns out, as with everything when it comes to progress, people are extremely resistant to change, which is a damn shame, because I can tell you right now that playing a shooter, aiming like this and having these controls and, you know, moving with like this is a far better experience than playing it like this. Let me just put these in here. Like, having them separate and actually using them to aim is much better than aiming using your right stick, and just basically having the traditional controller setup is not the ideal way to play a shooter. Any kind of shooter, third-person shooter, first-person shooter, anything that requires you to aim can be improved using motion controls. And if you disagree with that, then I'm sorry, but you need to stop resisting progress, because we need to evolve. And the classic controller is not the best way to play shooters. I'm sorry. There's a reason why the PC master racists are constantly on our case about, oh man, friggin' mouse and keyboard, man, so much better. And trust me, motion controls even better than mouse and keyboard, okay? Trust me on that. And this is a very good way to play games. Like, I would rather this over having this device. Again, personal opinion, this is just for people who are just like in that mindset that they need to have a full control on their hands. But like for that, I would even rather have the Pro Controller. This is how I'm going to play whenever I'm using the Joy-Cons for a single player game. Like, I've been playing Zelda like this already, and it's a lot of fun. It works great. I can't talk too much about Zelda, still embargo and all that stuff, but I will tell you guys all about it soon. As soon as the embargo lifts, I will have a video talking about Zelda as well. Now that we've talked about this device, and we've talked about the dock, talked about the tablet, it's time to talk about the Joy-Cons. Okay, so the Joy-Cons, they have a lot of stuff packed into them. It's such a simple design, right? I mean, some people will say it's super complex. I actually think this design is actually really simple and really smart. You guys can see the comparison. Again, I'm going to put another controller in here. I hope my friends at Nintendo aren't upset that I'm showing other controllers. It's for comparison purposes so that people can see what the size is. Okay, so this is the size of a Joy-Con next to a DualShock 4. Okay? This is what it looks like. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh my god, that thing is tiny. Thing is tiny. It doesn't have to be huge, but I do understand if you have really big hands, you might have problems when you're playing this in two-player mode, because the whole idea behind these Joy-Cons is that you can do this, and now you have two controllers, right? That's the whole idea behind it. And in my opinion, whenever you are in the two-controller mode, you will want to have the straps. Oops, sorry, I was showing those off camera. The straps. These come included. You guys have seen me do the unboxing, so you guys should have seen these in the unboxing. These are super simple. They just kind of attach themselves, and then you have a basic strap here that you can tie to yourself in case you're playing something that has motion gaming. And it has a lock on the bottom to make sure that the thing does not fly off. Although, I gotta tell you, these things are actually not that easy to take out of the Joy-Con, so I think the lock is not really necessary, but whatever. So, let me show you guys how this works for the two-player mode. So, you're gonna put this thing in here. Slides right in, it's already there, and now after you do that, you push this thing slightly up. Wait, sorry about that. There. You hear the click, boom, it's attached, it's locked. Now you can swing this thing around, it's not going to come out. You can pull it, you can do whatever, it's not going to come out. And like this, it's actually a pretty serviceable secondary control. Like, it's not the best experience in the world, but you can do it. Like, you can play Mario Kart like this. I don't think it's a problem at all. Like, you'll have one button for drift, one button for shooting, a couple of buttons on here. I don't know exactly what the mapping is going to be on Mario Kart. I haven't played all that much of it. It is a little bit tight, so for long gaming sessions, I kind of feel like you're going to cramp up a little bit. But I think, if you're playing, say, 2 hours of Mario Kart or whatever, I think you'll be fine playing 2 hours of Mario Kart with a friend like this. Then you might want to take a break, because I think it is going to get a little bit uncomfortable playing like this. But, this perfectly serves... Whoops, I actually turned on the console. My bad. Let's try to avoid that. I don't know what the hell I'm doing in those menus. But I actually played Snipper Clips with Globku like this back in the Nintendo event, and we were both fine. Like, it was not a problem using the controller at all. So this is a perfectly fine way of playing two-player games, but when you're playing your single-player game and you want all of the controls you're going to want to play it like this and without this thing. So let me just remove this. This is the part that I find is a little bit hard because like putting it on the Switch itself and taking it out, super easy. Getting the straps off, not particularly easy because like you'd figure the way that I usually take these off from the tablet itself is I just kind of push them up, boom, done. And here the thing you have to push up is the strap. So ideally, what would you think? Okay, so I'll press the button in the back and then I'll push this thing up from the bottom. Problem is you have this lock thing here and you're trying to push it from the bottom and you're going to put the lock thing in lock position again. So that has happened to me a couple of times, but a little bit of practice, I'm pretty sure people won't have too many problems with it. But it does take a bit of practice to get this thing off. So there, comes off. Not a huge deal. It's just going to take a bit, like I said, it's going to take a little bit of practice for you to get used to sliding these straps on and off. But then again, it's not something that you're going to be doing like every 5 minutes. Slide strap, put a strap on, put the strap off, so whatever. Now, using it like this for 2 players, it's also doable, but I would advise you just do it with the straps. Seriously. If you're playing in 2-player mode, just do it with the straps. So let's take a look at all the controls that you have in the right Joy-Con. So you have your 2 triggers, or your shoulder button and your trigger right there. Now, one of the things that Globku said is that he can't put his fingers like this. There's not enough room to put, like if you're the kind of person that uses your middle finger for the bottom trigger and your index finger for the top trigger, you're not going to be able to do that. I personally am one of those people that uses the index finger in both, because very rarely you have to press both triggers at once in games, so it's usually not a problem. I'll just use the same finger for both. So to me, it doesn't make that much of a difference. I can press them fine. They're clicky, by the way. They're not like, they're not like the other 2 controllers of the competition, whereas you can press them and they go down. These are just like very clicky, almost like a mouse button in a way. So you got your 2 triggers there. Then you have 4 faceplate buttons, and you have this plus sign. This is actually a button. You can press it. And this is usually like your start button, pretty much. So your start button, your options button, whatever. Then you have a home button, which works very much like you would expect from a home button. It takes you back to the home screen. If you keep it pressed for a little while, it will show you it'll actually show you, let me take her out here and I can show you guys. You have this mini screen. I'm not sure if it will show up if I'm not running a game, but I can't run a game right now, so we're going to have to make do with whatever we get here. Okay, home menu, press the same button 3 times, so we're in the home menu. If you hold home, this little menu shows up, and this allows you to turn automatic brightness on or off. You can change the brightness. If you're plugged into the TV, the brightness menu will not appear, because obviously you're plugged into a TV, you don't have to mess around with the brightness. You can turn on flight mode, which I guess is convenient if you're taking this on a plane, that you have the flight mode option right there at your fingertips. And again, you have your home menu, and then you have this little menu that just allows you to do simple stuff like adjust your brightness, your flight mode, whatever, right? Then you can go back and put her to sleep. Sleep mode works fine. So like I've been, whenever I'm playing, I can actually just at any point in time sleep mode, or you can actually press the power button on top of the tablet there. That will also take her to sleep mode. Just thought I'd mention that while we're looking at the sleep mode. So other things that you can do with the right Joy-Con. You got your 2 triggers here, left trigger and right trigger, which are the SR button and SL. That means that basically whenever you're playing in 2-player mode, you only have 2 triggers. You don't have the full extent of the 4 triggers. You also only have 1 analog. So it's going to be a more limited experience. You're not going to have the full range of controls of a regular controller. But still, it works for simpler games. Like Snipper Clips, for instance, was a great game that I played with Globku. I really enjoyed that. And that is one of the games that I'm really looking forward to, Okay, so other things. The analog stick also clicks down, so that gives you your R3 basically right there. So your four faceplate buttons, 2 triggers, plus the 2 triggers for the when you're using it as its own little controller, as its own independent controller. Start button, your home button, your analog, as well as a press on the analog. So
pretty much a whole lot of stuff. Now beyond that, this is the controller that has the NFC reader, and you can just grab an amiibo, plop it on here. Let me show you. I mean, it's not going to read anything off of these amiibos right now, but I can show you what it would look like because I've tried reading amiibos with it, but at the point that I am, I can't even talk about it. Never mind. But let's just say that I tried reading amiibos. I haven't been successful in it yet because I just don't have anything that supports amiibos on it. But anyway, reading amiibos is just like you plop her down like this, and it will read the amiibo just like that. So there's an NFC reader somewhere in there, and that's how that is going to work. Then you have the IR reader in here, which people have been talking about specifically for that game where you can like eat sandwiches or whatever in 1-2 switch. This is what it's going to do. This thing is also able to capture the shapes like they've said, like for scissors, rock, paper. So that could be something interesting that they could do with a couple of games, but who knows, really. But that is all the functionality that you have on the right Joy-Con. Your left Joy-Con, slightly simpler, does not have NFC reader, does not have the IR thing. Everything else it has, so it's got a minus button, which is like your old select button. It's got also your clicky on your L3. It's got your 2 triggers. It's got your D-pad. Now, when it comes to D-pads, yeah. Like if you want to play a fighter or something, this is not the kind of D-pad that you want to have. But the reason it's like that is so that when you turn it like this, it's its own little thing. So I can understand the decision of why they did it like this, but it does mean that whenever you're trying to play a fighter, you're not going to have a D-pad if you're using your Joy-Cons. And let's just say that usually playing fighters like Street Fighter or something like that with analog sticks is not usually the best way to go about it, at least for me personally. Then you have this button, which is currently used for sharing your, not sharing, it's currently used for taking screenshots. It will later be used to share screenshots and eventually share video, or so they say. That is what this little button does. You also have your triggers up in here, and you have the same thing that you can just plug this thing in, boop, and then you have, slightly longer, which is better when you are playing in 2-player mode. This is much better than without it. Let's put it like that. In case you guys are wondering, oh man, what about if I change the straps or something? You can't. Because this thing will actually not, or does it let you? Oh, actually it does. It looks like the straps are compatible both ways. As a matter of fact, you can actually see it if you look at the strap. Let me just, is this locked? No, it's not locked. See, this is what I'm saying, like, these straps is not the easiest thing to come out. Maybe it's because they're still virgin, and after a couple of putting them in and out, they'll become a little bit smoother coming in and out. So who knows? Time will tell. But you actually have something here indicating a plus or a minus, telling you where you should place it. So like here it is, plus with plus, or minus with minus. So these will actually work on both Joy-Cons. One strap fits all sizes so that it's not confusing for people. And that is pretty much the extent of the Switch so far. And at least in terms of hardware. This is all I can really tell you because, again, I haven't played enough of it. So what are my concerns at this point? My main concern is the battery life. Now, I've been playing it outside of the thing as well. I haven't really strained the battery too much because, I mean, the whole point of this is that when you're home, you get to play on the TV. But my main concern is not even how long the battery lasts now. My concern is how is this battery going to endure constantly placing this thing onto the docking station. Because, I mean, we all know how our phones are. Like, sometimes you charge them midway, and after you do that a couple of times, your phones just completely go to hell. And, like, for instance, my iPhone is just like shutting down at 40% battery. It's like, yeah, dude, I got 40% battery, man, we're good. And then suddenly it's like, oh, fuck you, I was joking, you got nothing, you're done. So I'm very concerned with the battery, not the battery life, but the battery span. Like, how long is this battery going to last me until it starts acting up? But that is something we can really only tell in time. Like, I'm not going to be able to tell you guys right now, oh yeah, this is going to last you about 1 year before you guys have problems. Like, I can't do that because there's no way for me to actually know. But that would be my main concern because, again, devices that have batteries, if you're constantly charging them without fully using the battery, sometimes tends to be a problem. So that is something that I will definitely keep my eyes on. And if it starts acting up, I will be sure to report back to you guys. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I could show you the whole thing where, oh, you put the switch in and then it switches the thing onto the television, but I just wanted to actually show you guys the hardware itself, which I think is more important. I can tell you right now the whole thing about taking this out, image comes on, putting it down, image comes on the TV, it works just fine. It works just like advertised, no issues there. So there's not a problem. Sometimes if you have multiple controllers paired with your switch, it will tell you when you take it out of the dock. It will tell you, like, can you please press the R and L buttons, so like your shoulder buttons, so that it identifies which controllers you are currently using. So like if you can take this thing out of the dock and you can choose to use, say, your Pro Controller, or you can take this out of the dock and choose to use your Joy-Cons. Or if you attach your Joy-Cons in here, I don't think it will even ask you. It's just like you take it out. It's got it already knows that you're going to be using the Joy-Cons because they're attached to the unit. So I have a lot of expectations about this bad boy, but right now I'm going to be playing some Zelda so that I can tell you guys about it. But I am excited. So far, it looks and feels great. In terms of weight, it is not too heavy. It is not too light either. So the build quality on the tablet feels sturdy, you know? It doesn't feel like this, you know? This right here, this is the Wii U gamepad. This does not feel as good of a device as this. Like the image quality that you get on this screen is just impressive. I can tell you right now. A lot of people are going to be saying, oh man, but the screen's only 720p, like my phone is more than 720p, and it's like, yeah, why does it matter? The pixel density on this thing is fine. We do have a rather large bezel. You guys can see it, right? It's right here, bezel. But even still, the pixel density on this is fine for 720p. Trust me, it looks great. Zelda playing on this, I can't actually. I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you. But I mean, most people have said, the people that have played the Switch, they've said it's great. I can't tell you because I'm under embargo, but I will be telling you soon enough whether or not it's good. But I can tell you that the screen quality is pretty damn good. Pixel density is fine. It looks great. Doesn't matter if it's 720p. It looks good. Okay? Trust me on this. This screen right here is just fine. And one of the things that I think is going to surprise a lot of people is that this device is actually slightly smaller than what you would expect. For comparison purposes, let's put in, here's your Wii U gamepad. Right? Here's your Wii U gamepad. Here is your Switch. As you guys can see, a lot smaller. It's also lighter. Yeah, oh my god, yeah, it is definitely lighter than the Wii U gamepad. And I think this one goes without saying, it is also a lot thinner. You know? And as Hengus likes to say, this actually looks like it looks like a more adult device, so to speak. You know, that one feels more. It feels like it's for a younger audience. Let's put it like that. Whereas this one feels like anyone can use it. Feels just like a tablet, basically. Like if you have a tablet this size, it's probably going to feel very similar to the Switch. So far, I'm really pleased with it. It's just right now the only thing I really play is Zelda, and I am going to be playing Zelda, and I will be telling you guys about Zelda. Can't talk about Zelda just yet. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about it right now. And we actually ran out of battery in the last couple of minutes of the video there, but we were pretty much done with the hardware presentation of the Switch. Now, from a hardware standpoint, the Switch feels like a good device. You know, the Joy-Cons work. There's a multitude of ways in which you can use the Joy-Cons, like you can either put them on the Joy-Con device that actually attaches both of them together. You can play them separate, which is my personal preferred way of using it. You can also use the two-player mode thing, which is going to be cool for some games. Although, again, I haven't gotten to play much on this console. I've played some of those in the event that I went to for the Switch, and those felt just fine. So, yeah, from a hardware standpoint, I'm pretty pleased with it. Like I said, my main concern right now is how long is that battery going to last. But other than that, feels like a pretty damn good device. Now, the more important thing is going to be games. And we will be having a video on that pretty soon, talking about Zelda. Hopefully you guys are excited for it. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Helps out a lot. Leave me your comments, feedback, all that kinds of good stuff in the comment section below. And I will see you guys in the next one.